The last thing I want to do to our navigation menu is have it indicate to us which item has been selected, so that when we click on History, it actually gives us some user feedback and shows us that History has been selected. And we'll do that just by making the item bold. In fact, I've already got a class inside the style sheet for Selected where it just says font weight is bold. So anything that has that class is going to have the font weight bold. Now what I have in mind here is that the LI item is what will get this class. That's why I have it defined here right under my UL items. So any LI that has the class of Selected will be bold. Now, we should know how to do this because we know how to do simple if-then statements. Where we're going to want this to go is going to be right here. So let's go ahead and put that in there. It'll be class equals, and we'll put quote, selected, and a quote. I went ahead and put one too many quotes for me, and I'll need to escape these double quotes. There. Now that'll work, but it's going to turn every subject into something that's selected. So what we need is an if-then statement that will execute this on its own. Go ahead and pause your movie, try it for yourself, and see if you can make it work. All we need to do is determine whether class equals selected gets put into this LI or not, based on whether or not the subject ID matches the selected subject. So pause your movie, try it on your own, and then when you restart the movie, I'll show you the results that I got. How'd you do? Did you get it to work? Here's how I would solve the problem. I would put an equals at the end of this LI, and actually I'd take the space away as well, because sometimes we're going to want that space, and then end the line, and then go ahead and write my echo for this little bit that I want, and go ahead and close the quotes on that, and then I would write another echo for the last part of it. So now I've just broken it up essentially into its three parts. Now I'm prepared to do my if statement. So if something is true, then open brackets and echo class selected. And I'll close my braces. If a certain condition is true, drop in class selected. And we know what we want to test. What we want to test is whether or not the subject ID, which is right here, subject ID is equal to, double equals, because we're doing a comparison, is equal to SEL-SUBJ, our selected subject. And if it is, then it should come back with class selected. Let's try that out. We'll go to the Finder, and we'll click on a subject, and now it's bold. There we go. And we can do the exact same thing for the pages. We'll just prepare the spot where it's going to go by putting in our quote, and then echo again. There we are. And now we can actually just take this same bit of if-then and drop it down here. But instead of checking for the subject ID, we're going to check for the page ID versus the selected page. So there we go. And now it should work for both. We'll switch back to our browser. And when we click on the page selects, or when we click on the subject selects. Now, one last point that I want to make is that if-then statements, because it's not white space dependent, don't have to be broken up. And it might be easier and cleaner for you to write something that's that short as a statement like this. And we can just drop it all onto one line. Let me do the same thing here. Now, that's up to you. It's a stylistic choice, but I think that's a little easier. It makes more of my code fit on the page at any one time, and I always find some benefit in having more code visible at one time. So now we finished our navigation menu. All it does is select a navigation and send an ID value over to the content area, but that's fine because now we're ready in the content area to do all of our CRUD. We can read in the information from the database. We can have forms that will let us update the information, delete it. All of that can now take place in the content area because we can feel confident that our navigation is working. So in the next chapter, let's move over to all of that CRUD that's going to go in the content area.